We've come to the Derby racetrack in the northwest of the Isle of Man to get a sneak peek at the Norton Racing Team's preparations for this year's TT. Their new manager is the legendary Mick Grant, a 7 times TT winner.
Derby is the best kept secret in the UK. It's so good to come and test here. There's no noise restrictions. You've got the place to yourself. We've done a lot of testing here and it's absolutely brilliant.
And the surface is very like the actual proper circuit.
It's very bumpy, very windy, and it's like today, it's very, very cold. But it's very good for us.
The bike they're testing is the SG5, the latest incarnation of what Norton hopes will be a new generation of TT winners. After a 20-year absence, Norton began their comeback campaign in 2012 with the first of the SG series. 4 years and 5 rebuilds later, they're hoping to make a big impact in 2016.
I've been involved for the last 2 years now. This year we have made a dramatic move forwards. Realistically, we're not going to win, but I think we're going to be at the sharp end.
Because, I mean, all British motorcycle racing fans want Norton to do well, and for us to see him in the top 10 would just be amazing.
Don't forget it's a prototype bike. I mean, if you're running the Japanese bikes, you get a bike out of the crate with lights on, and you put the same suspension as everyone else's, and you've got a competitive motorbike.
Surely.
This is a prototype. It's the only one in the world, and it's a lot more difficult to get to the start line in a competitive form than any of the guys on the grid.
Over the last 5 years, I've nervously followed the Norton comeback, but I have to say that this bike is the best so far. The Australian David Johnson is going to ride it in this year's TT, but today's shakedown is being done by Steve Plater, one of the most experienced test riders around. Steve, if there's one man who knows whether that's a good bike for the TT, it's you. What do you reckon?
I've done a lot of testing with the SG 2, 3, 4 and now 5. This is a brand new chassis that we tried out yesterday. But it's been more about the electronics in all fairness, electronics and making the bike user friendly when you're first opening the throttle, middle of the corner.
What makes a good race bike? I mean, obviously speed, that's without question, but surely it's how you feel on it as well as it's how responsive it is, handling, all those things you're shaking down here for Dave to get on and do the business.
Yeah, of course, the Isle of Man TT is the biggest test for man and machine. There's not many heavy braking areas, so you've got to be able to throw your leg over a motorcycle and be very confident that you can hold the throttle fully open in every gear and ride around here because the average speed is so fast. Norton is still a relatively small operation and doesn't have the resources that other teams can call upon, but as Mick Grant insists, success requires patience as well as dosh.
KTM, who are doing the MotoGP for next year, there's 70 full-time staff working on their prototype motorcycles. At Norton, we've got one engineer and me. And so, you can imagine.
That's so British, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. But I tell you what, if we get anywhere near a bit of success, it'll be even sweeter.
Today, Norton are the underdogs, but I can't help but feel excited about this great-looking bike. Well, whether or not Norton are actually going to emulate their past history, who knows? But I tell you what, the development looks and sounds utterly fantastic. And it's going to need to be, because the Isle of Man TT remains the greatest test for man and machine that you can get anywhere. With average lap speeds now reaching over 133 miles per hour. Only the best bikes in the world and the best riders stand any chance of getting near the podium. But not only is it an amazing spectacle, it's also a huge logistical challenge, which during race weeks employs over 2,000 people. Down there is Ballaugh Bridge. Now I'm going to nip down there and spend some time with some of the Isle of Man's unsung heroes. They're some of the 520 marshals who are required to be in position every time a race or a practice session takes place. There aren't that many crashes, but when they occur, the marshals play a vital role at the accident scene, stopping the race and organising the emergency services. As Dave Cretney, a former rider now turned marshal, explains, the festival really does depend on them.
without the marshals, the event just couldn't take place. So we need to have so many volunteers, and we're always very grateful. So many people are prepared to give of their time to make sure the event happens. And it's been going on a long time. 1907 was the first event. Here we are, over 100 years.
Marshals are organised into teams, each one having a particular role in the event of any problems.
My role is to race after the bike wherever it stops. I have to pick up the bike, bring the bike over to get it out of harm's way, whilst any medical personnel might do whatever they're required to do.
This particular marshal station is at Ballough Bridge, about halfway round the track, and includes not only a humpback bridge, but a deceptively tricky corner, as Senior Marshal Terry Smith knows only too well. Now tell me, approaching this is obviously a relatively straight road, but probably deceptively for rookies, there's quite a bit of a kink here.
Yeah, you've got to do your homework. You come in here too quick.
Yeah.
You'll be taken off and you'll be landing over by them houses somewhere.
Could end up in the pub.
You don't want that.
Not at all. A practice session for the classic TT is about to begin. While we've been talking, the crowds have been growing and the marshals are getting all their equipment together. They've given me this rather fetching pink bib to give the riders a target to aim for, and from the sound of it, it won't be long before they'll be here. There's a whole posse of them coming. I can hear them. I can smell them. God. Just the sound of these classic machines is phenomenal. And if you think they're going slow, John McGuinness has just posted a lap of 109 miles an hour. In the end, it all went off safely. One rider had to retire after a little trouble with his bike, and another had a problem with his screen, but thankfully the marshals didn't have to take out the red flag or the first aid kit. To be actually here and see those bikes coming over this little bridge, my heart's in my mouth. Some of them are getting it a little bit wrong and just hitting with the front wheel hitting first. But the sound, the smell, it's just an incredible experience. I could just drink it in. If only we could bottle this emotion. Hey, I'd sell loads.